If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello everyone, welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, and with your weekly update of being optimistic, my good friend, Gary C. Johnson. How'd you like that intro?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. How we doing, folks? Bet you're thinking he got a little negative last week, right? Didn't mean to. Sorry. Didn't mean to criticize, condemn me. Didn't mean to complain. Just slipped out. Couldn't help it. They call it, from where I was raised in the head of a holler in eastern Kentucky, they call it backsliding, right?
You know, my friend, I've had people ask me, say, come on, Keith, tell me the truth. Gary slips out onto the side of the mountain where nobody can see him, and every now and then he just lets loose and he criticizes and condemns and complains and yells and screams and gets it out of his system and then runs back in.
Nah, don't have enough sense to do that. The thing about last week's show is I hope that instead of you taking it as criticizing, condemning, and complaining, as an effort to give you some information to make you think. Because criticism never helps anything. Complaining doesn't help anything, right? Do something about it. And maybe I was doing a little something about it to try to protect you folks. Because you can't believe what advertisers people say. And you say, well, Gary, you're advertising. Don't believe me? Check it out. If I say it, double check it. Right? Simply because someone gets on television and says it does not make it true. You all know that. You've watched enough over the years. You know that's just not true. But in the end, how many of you are learning to be happy? Raise your hand if you're trying to learn to be happy, right? Keith's got his hands up. Thank goodness.
I am doing the best I can.
And it's because in the end, that's what matters. Your peace of mind, you're enjoying this little dash we've got on this earth. That's what's important. And you don't have to be important to everybody. You don't have to go out here and make everybody think you're important. If you're important to the good Lord, that's enough. And you're real important to Him, or He wouldn't have made you, right? You're exactly where you should be. You were made the way the good Lord wanted you to be. You have just the amount of good sense the good Lord wanted you to have. I wish you'd give me a little more, huh?
Well, you opened up talking about thinking. You know, if we went back 40 years ago, information really wasn't available. I mean, you go to an encyclopedia, you go to a library, but in this day that we live, on any subject, on any person, on any company, if you can get to an internet, you can Google and you can find out all of the information that you could possibly want.
And I'll bet you most of you do, right? You could actually pick your phone up and say, hey Google or hey Siri, tell me about this. You don't have to go do all the work anymore. It's done for you. I saw a fellow the other day pick his phone up and say, hey Google, tell me such and such, such and such. Just like that. Phone come back, gave him the information. You want a lawyer. You know, you say, hey Siri, call Gary C. Johnson's law office.
Oh,
boom, just like that.
I just heard Siri go off. Huh? I just heard Siri, my phone go off over there when you said call the office.
Yeah.
So it worked. My phone is off the set, but it heard Gary's voice.
Yeah, it's amazing. how simple it is to communicate.
Well, most people know that from being out traveling. If you want to know about a hotel, what do? You read a review. You find out if it's a 4-star, 5-star. You find out about a restaurant. You read reviews. And these reviews are from people who have actually used the services.
And one other thing I'll pass on to you, a lot of folks don't activate the Siri on their phone or the Google, I guess, app on their phone. I recommend you do it. It is amazing how convenient it is. Anybody in your contacts, or not even in your contacts, all you have to do is say, hey, Siri, call this person. Boom. And she'll come back and say, I'm on it. I got you. It's taken a little longer than I thought. Artificial intelligence, it's amazing.
It truly is the amount of information that we have at our fingertips right now.
And it'll text. All you have to do is tell it to text somebody something. I don't know how I got off on that. Keith, how did I get off on
You
that?
got off on it because I was telling about, you were asking people to think, and I was saying in today's time, it's easier to get the information you need than it was 40 years ago. So
Okay.
even like today, when I see a product, if I'm watching a commercial, I'll tell the wife, I think I'm going to order that. And before I could even get the words out, she's got it pulled up on the phone. She's like, you don't want to get that. Here's the reviews. It's not any good. It's not going to help. And she reads all the information off. And I'm like, okay, you saved me money.
You hope.
I hope. Yeah.
Let's take a break and we'll come right back. And I'm going to go to the computer and talk a little bit about some law.
Stay with us. Information, by the way, is powerful, and that's the thing that Gary always says. Think and make your own decisions. We hope you make the decision to stay with us, because if you do, Gary C. Johnson is coming right back on Simply the Law.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. I developed a method of representing my clients called judo law. Using judo law, our team set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. No other law firm has even come close. We've had several multi-million-dollar verdicts since then, and guess what? Now, most of our cases settle. If you've been hurt and you need money fast, give us a call, pound hurt.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. I was just thinking during the break, you always tell everybody, hey, believe yourself, read, study, make up your own mind. A lot of us want to take everybody else's word for it so we can blame them if we make the wrong decision. And you're making us be accountable by saying, you make the decision.
They say.
They say.
But next time somebody tells you, they say, ask them who they are. Okay.
Gary and I have a lot of fun with that because I know my dad is watching this show, and I'm going to get in trouble for this, but whatever the subject is on, he will say, they tell me that the way to build this or the way to fix this, and I'm like, because you've told me to say that, who's they? Well, it's Jim up the road, who just so happens to be an expert. So Gary's point is, whenever you hear the word they say, ask who they is, and then start asking about their qualifications.
Or I've heard.
Yeah.
Just think, it's a wonderful life, and we have so much fun living it, don't we? Huh? We're living life, and we're enjoying every second of it. And the best way in the world to enjoy it is to watch everybody around you. It is amazing. While they're watching you, by the way.
The greatest show on earth.
It is. It's the greatest reality show that's ever been. Let's go to the computer. I want to talk to you folks about some stuff. There's our number in case any of you need to reach us. We're in Lexington. We have an office there. GaryCJohnson.com. In general, wonder if any of you have ever heard about this. Make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. Not going to belabor it tonight. Now, most people don't want to be in a lawsuit. Most people dread being in a lawsuit. Most people dread going to a lawyer, right? So, what happens when you go to a lawyer? What does the lawyer do? What's one of the first things, other than getting all your information from you, what's the lawyer do? They prepare a complaint. It's called a complaint. In that complaint, your lawyer on your behalf has stated that the other party caused the wreck and your injuries, or medical negligence, or product liability, or whatever it is. Then that complaint is filed in the circuit clerk's office, and a fee is paid to file that complaint.
Gary, let me ask you a question before you get into this, because we've talked about advertising, we've talked about they say. One of the great ones in advertising right now is insurance companies that say, oh, been there, done that, took care of that, handled that, had no problem with this. So our friends might be asking, with all of these wonderful ads we see that says, don't worry, we've seen everything, we've taken care of everything, we paid for this, we didn't question this. They're going to ask, why do I need to file a complaint in the first place when we've got all of these wonderful people that are going to take care of me?
The only person that will try to take care of you is probably your lawyer. That's their job. That's what you hired them for. Another thing, let me ask your lawyer, if you've been hired by these big fancy lawyers, ask them if they filed your lawsuit. I don't know how long it's been, but ask them if they filed the complaint and filed your lawsuit. Simple question, right? And see if they filed it. Or ask them, are you just going to try to settle it? Because if you're trying to settle it, the odds are you're not going to get the money out of it that you would get if you file a lawsuit, right?
Now, the way that I take this is you're going to tell me, if you're going to file a lawsuit, you've got to do a lot more work.
It takes a lot of work to file a lawsuit.
A lot of hours.
We file every single lawsuit unless for some crazy reason there's just a little bit of insurance and the person, we get the money and just give it to them, all of it. Other than that, we file a lawsuit. Why would we file a lawsuit? Why wouldn't we just settle the case? The only way that I've found in all my years of practicing law to get the insurance money for my client is to file a lawsuit, prepare the lawsuit as though if I'm putting it in front of a jury, and it is amazing how often then that case settles.
It settles for the value that it should be.
That it should settle.
Yeah, but what you're saying is there's no way that would happen if you didn't put in the hours, the work, and that you were ready to go in front of 12 men and women and say, here's the facts.
Why would they?
They wouldn't have to. Of course not.
It's just business as far as, it's nothing personal from an insurance company that won't pay you. It's not personal.
In all honesty, you could do less work, take on more cases, settle more cases, make money, and you could do that and have that set up as your business model if you wanted to.
If I chose to have a business model, like some people that are advertising, one in particular, out of state, you know what I'm talking about, I could handle 3 or 4 times the number of cases that we've got with a third the people on my payroll. Because what I would do is get the case, get with the insurance adjuster, say, how much money will you give me? Then I'd say to the client, oh, take this money, that way you won't have to go to court. I won't even have to file your lawsuit, take this money. I'd take my part, move on. That's how you would do it if you were going to do it as a business.
So, Gary, then the business model becomes take more cases, settle them as fast as you can, take more cases, settle them as fast as you can. So when you're hearing a number of 2 million, you have given away the secret of your business model.
But if you're going to represent their client and get each and every single client the money for their personal injury, you're going to gather their medical records, you're going to talk to the witnesses, You're going to file their lawsuit. You're going to take the deposition. You're going to do a background check on the defendant to see if they have any felonies. There's a ton of work you're going to do. And it takes a bunch of people to do that. I've got people that do nothing but gather medical records. That's all they do. I've got people that do nothing but go through medical records and summarize them. That's all they do. I've got investigators that all they do is go to the scene, get to the vehicles, get the pictures. That's all they do. I've got lawyers that take depositions, one right after the other. That's what they do. Got lawyers that take medical depositions. That's what they do. But we have got about 12 lawyers and probably 35 other people working for me. And it's cost a lot of money to run the office. But we do not do volume. I would never try to do volume cases.
So our friends are looking right now and they're saying, if I'm getting this right, it's not in your best financial interest to practice your profession the way that you're doing. It's in the best financial interest of your clients, but not necessarily you individually. And they're going to look at you and say, why have you chosen to stick with the way that you're doing it?
Because it's the way I started doing it 30 years ago, and I don't have enough sense to quit.
And it's the right thing to do.
And it's the right thing to do, and it's the only way to truly represent your client. And it's very expensive to represent a client, but gosh almighty, and the feeling you get when you get the end result of that thing, and your client looks over at you and says, I've got some hope now, and this has changed my life. That's worth it all. You talk about a feeling of a high. Let's take a break. We'll come right back.
You know, you can always see the passion when Gary talks about the clients and he talks about his profession, and I think he laid it out on the table there for you. Stay with us. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson when we come back.
Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebold Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today.
Welcome back in to Simply the Law. I really enjoyed that segment because I think it brought up a little pride in all of us. No matter what our professions are or what we do for a living, you know, the fact that you said, this is the way I do it, this is the right way to do it, and this is the way I'm going to do it as long as I live.
As long as I'm in business, that's the way I'll do it. Let's go to computer, folks. I'll talk to you about that complaint. I mean, I had a big old show on a complaint on how you do it.
Sorry about that.
Sidetracked here. And the complaint is filed in the county where the wreck happened, or the event happened, or the defendant lives. It's called a complaint. See what it looks like? Complaint. You ask for your medical expenses, your future medical expenses, lost wages, impairment of ability to earn money in the complaint. How's it going to impact you in the future? Pain and suffering. Pain and suffering is where you can have a chance of breaking even. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me talk to you about that a second, because you folks need to know. Some people say, well, you should never, ever recover for pain and suffering. There's big, in the legislatures, there's big movements. Let's do away with pain and suffering, or let's cap it. Now, what good does pain and suffering do when you find it as a damage? You take all of those other things I listed, lost wages, medical expenses, future medical expenses, lost future wages through impairment to earn money. That is a set figure, right? Let's say it's $100,000. If you add all those up, it's $100,000. Well, to get your case to court and to hire your lawyer, you're going to have to pay at least 1/3 of that $100,000 to a lawyer. So that only leaves you with $66,000, but you lost $100,000, right? So how can you get that other 1/3? Only if a jury finds pain and suffering. If a jury finds pain and suffering, you can break even. It's that simple.
You know, I've got to ask you a couple of questions for our friends. Now, I've been with you 21 years, and I'm baffled by this. First of all, if you've been personally injured, you've got pain and suffering. So there's a no-brainer for me. Now, the second thing is you're saying they're trying to cap it, but you've always told me the only thing that you can get is the insurance that's available. So why would you be capped from getting the insurance that you've paid for that's available?
Because the insurance company buys shrimp for the people in the legislature. That's why.
I don't understand that. It's technically, it's already capped based upon the amount of insurance that you have, isn't it?
That's right. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
You know, after all these years, I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm thinking, that just doesn't make sense. You have to prove pain and suffering, but you've already been injured? Stay with us. Gary C. Johnson is coming back with more answers right after this on Simply the Law.
People are asking, what is judo law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based upon that principle. It worked so well, he named it judo law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. I was thinking during that break real quick, when it comes to pain and suffering, I remember one time saying, oh, I heard you had to an individual, I heard you had a small heart attack. He said, no, it was a small heart attack if you had it. It was a major heart attack when I had it. So when we get into injuries, I mean, there are no minor injuries.
Anybody with chronic pain can tell you what it's like to have to live with pain. Anybody with chronic pain can tell you that there is no amount of money that would ever compensate them for pain and suffering if that pain was put on them by a careless driver or somebody else's fault. Period. There's not enough money. And those in chronic pain, you know what I'm talking about. And I bet you there's some of you in chronic pain right now that's watching this program.
Gary, I knew
you know what I'm talking about.
I knew
it's invaluable.
I knew an individual that you helped that said, I'll give every dime back, sell my house, and live under a bridge if you will take this pain away and let me be like I was before the accident.
That's exactly the way my clients feel. There's no amount of money, there's never enough insurance to cover what they go through, ever. And yet they come in there and argue, well, okay. Let's go back to the computer. The circuit clerk will issue a summons to each defendant with a copy of the complaint attached. The issuance of the summons actually is the beginning of the lawsuit. Summons is the official notice to a defendant that a lawsuit has been filed. It's delivered by certified mail or personal service by a sheriff's office. The insurance company that carries the insurance on the car will then hire a defense attorney to answer your complaint. You don't choose your lawyer. Your insurance company will choose your lawyer for you, and they'll pay your lawyer. The answer must be filed in the circuit clerk's office within 20 days of the service. Default judgment, if a defendant fails to answer, you need to start saying, oh, no, that means they probably don't have any insurance. But a default judgment can be entered if there's if a defendant fails to answer. Then you go into discovery. Interrogatories, that's questions you can send them and ask them different things. You can ask them to admit things, and you can ask either side for production of documents to prove the case. Okay? After each side has received responses to written discovery, the depositions are set. The deposition is where the defense will ask you questions under oath. This is a big one. You must be honest when you answer their questions. If there's one thing that in all my years of practicing law that I have come to absolutely believe more than anything, a client, if they start telling a lie, will destroy their case. If there's one thing a jury can't stand, it's a liar. And I've watched people over the years think, well, I've got to say this because I'm hurt so bad, I've got to make sure they understand and all that. And then they get out there and it appears like they're lying or they're exaggerating and they're putting on, and they destroy their own case. So if you know anyone that's in a lawsuit, tell them you have to be 100% honest when you answer the questions, and I don't care how bad it is. I don't care what they ask you and how ashamed you are of it. Don't tell a lie about it.
He is telling you the truth. Over the years, I have been with you with clients, even some people on business, and you always start out with the opening the same way. I can only help you if you tell me the absolute truth.
Right.
And I've heard you say that time and time again.
I concluded years ago that some people believe if they lie to their lawyer and their lawyer believes them, they're home free. Doesn't work that way, folks. You can't lie. If you're in a lawsuit, you can't lie to anybody. And I don't care how desperate you are for the money to be able to keep from losing your home or whatever because of what happened to you. You cannot lie. You have to tell the truth. And it will set you free. And it will make a difference in whether or not you get compensated for what happened to you. The truth. Simple truth. I can't emphasize that enough.
And the truth works. And plus, the truth gives you the confidence of walking in and saying, here are the facts. Say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do. I've got the facts.
Why do they have an oath that you will tell the truth? There's a reason for that. With the truth, a jury or whoever's deciding the case can make a reasonable decision on what needs to be done. They can't make a decision that is accurate based on lies from either side.
Yeah.
The truth.
You know, my friend, after this program, you were talking about some of those big ads. I've seen one that says, not all lawyers are the same, and in this program, you've proven that.
Well, I'll say it again, you've got a lot of good Kentucky lawyers out there. Research them, okay?
And I'll say it, right here's the best. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.